What is going on, everybody? Let me know if y'all can hear me okay. We're gonna go ahead and get this show on the road. Thank you for your patience. We're gonna have a conversation in a second, but first, we're gonna play my most recent hotspot video. Give me 1 second, man. Hope everybody's doing well. We're gonna play this hotspot video, and then we're gonna get the show. We're gonna get the show on the road. We're gonna do some shout outs too. Yeah. Sorry, Rockfin acting a little crazy right now. I'm trying to get it together. For real, bro? There we go. There we go, Rockfin. All right, people, hotspot time. There we go.
Has officially sold his company Timcast to Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire. And I don't know if you guys have tuned into Tim's show between now and the events that took place on October 7th. But now that this information is leaked, we know how Tim went from being relatively moderate, even objective and open-minded on the issue of Israel and Palestine, going out of his way to invite on Max Blumenthal, of all people, to explain Palestine's side to anyone who criticizes or even brings up Israel is guilty of Israel derangement syndrome.
Israel-Palestine derangement syndrome.
Israel derangement syndrome.
Israel derangement syndrome.
Israel derangement syndrome.
Obsessed with Israel for some reason.
While our bombs rain down on Gaza, Republicans are silent and they're not hitting the opposition in the way that they ought to be.
It's too esoteric for the average person watching CNN.
Dead babies aren't esoteric.
No, these issues are absolutely too esoteric.
Here's somebody on Twitter calling out Tim for his interview with Arthur Bloom, where he said Arthur was stuck on Israel because he said that Israel has a vested interest in holding our politicians in the United States accountable using various covert means. And before Arthur gets a chance to explain, Tim Pool cuts him off. Like he doesn't want any discussion about Israel.
You want to go into Gates? I mean, the Israelis tried to extort him, his family.
I think you're obsessed with Israel.
He even says that any inclination to want to investigate or ask Republicans to deal with the issue of Israel makes Arthur insane.
Like, Joe Biden had classified documents. What should we do? And you go Israel. And I'm like, okay.
No, I'm saying that there's every reason to think that they had a role in disseminating this material.
So Joe Biden's classified documents, Israel put them there?
No, I'm talking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
I'm not. I'm talking about Joe Biden had classified documents. Trump had classified documents. Trump gets prosecuted. Biden doesn't get prosecuted. What should Republicans do? And then you go Israel.
The same kind of like ludicrous unwillingness to take this seriously. You have the same malady the Republican Party does, and until they figure it out, they're not going to be credible. Because I mean, there's no getting around like being sort of responsible and moderate about this.
Do you understand why, like, when I ask about procedural issues related to classified documents, you bring up Israel makes you sound insane?
Look, they're talking about here, like the Democrats have crossed the Rubicon. That's not. I mean, in general, what that metaphor refers to is like a willingness to play hardball. And what the Republicans are doing is not really playing hardball. It's playing
because they're not going after Israel.
It's playing this sort of game. It's stupid. It's childish.
Because they're not going after Israel.
Yeah, they need to take that seriously.
See, this is why I think you're insane.
And this tweet was in response to Tim unironically posting an Israeli flag after everyone rushed to his Twitter to call him out today after finding out he sold his show to the Daily Wire. It's not the fact that he sold the show, it's the fact that because of what happened with Candace Owens, because of how we've seen Ben Shapiro behave with his company since the start of this war, we know that you probably only support Israel and are shilling for Israel because it's a requirement to be on the Daily Wire. Because the Candace Owens experience showed us that you can tout every single Republican talking point out there, and it doesn't matter if you're not willing to back Israel 100% without question. But I'm glad that Tim's finally showing who he actually is, which is a grifter. This is the same guy who used to be a liberal when it was convenient. Then he was a conservative who still pretended he would be a liberal to grift off of a conservative base. Then he just went full conservative, but still pretended to be a little bit objective and reasoned in logic. And now he's gone full Israeli shield, and now you all know you can just ignore him. This clown is not to be taken seriously. And for the foreseeable future, every single take from Tim Pool will be brought to you by Ben Shapiro and Zionists for
Israel. Yeah. So what's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Fourth People Podcast. Shout out to my guy, Nick, my hotspot brother out there. I see you out there in the comment section. Appreciate you. We're gonna talk about that situation in a second with Tim Pool. But we got some beef real quick. I need to talk to my audience. Why ain't y'all tell me my Patreon link hasn't been in my description for like the last maybe 2 months? I'm over here telling people to go support me on Patreon. How the hell they gonna support me on Patreon when no one knows where to find my Patreon? And no one said anything about it. We're supposed to be a unit. We're supposed to be a team. And y'all just got me out here bucket naked with no Patreon link and no one said anything. I'm gonna let it go this time because it's the holiday season. But I'm over here like, damn, hold up. Where's my Patreon link at? I'm scrolling through my videos like, hold on. I don't have a Patreon link for like months. I'm over here telling people to go to my Patreon account. That's wild, y'all. That's crazy, man. I don't know. I don't really feel supported right now, but it's okay. Like I said, I'm gonna let that slide. We gotta, and once again, I gotta apologize for Monday too. We were supposed to do a Mimosa Monday this past Monday, but like I said, I hurt myself on Sunday playing soccer, and I literally could not sit up. I had to like lay down and keep my foot up because I messed it up pretty bad. So, but I got a special Mimosa Monday for you guys. This coming Monday, I'm actually gonna have a guest on, Taylor Ferber, my homegirl. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be a great show. We're gonna talk about various topics, answer your questions, all that good stuff. AMA format as usual, just with a little bit more spice. So I'm really excited about it. We're gonna talk about the Uhuru 3 today, and the wonderful judge who was like, "I'm not playing this game with y'all," with y'all being the system, and refused to give them jail time. We're going to talk about, obviously, Tim Pool. We're going to talk a little bit about Candace Owens and her embarrassing Piers Morgan, and Piers just being Piers. We're also going to talk about the Duke lacrosse situation. I don't know if y'all saw anything about that, but we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we got some other stuff we're going to try to get through. I got a list, actually, because I didn't get to stream earlier this week. So I got a list. So I'm going to try to knock it all out, and answer you guys' questions and see how far we can get down the list. With that being said, we're going to address this Tim Pool situation. Let me pull up this article really quick, talking a little bit about the leak that Tim Pool sold his company to the Daily Wire. So Tim Pool is reportedly selling his entire Timcast operation to the Daily Wire effectively January 1st, sources confirmed to Media Right News. One source told Media Right News that a Daily Wire employee has been questioning Timcast employees to determine whether they will be terminated, while a second said it is unclear which employees will retain their positions. Sources spoke on condition of anonymity due to the concerns of legal reprisals. It is also understood that Pool is moving to Nashville, and any employee retained will need to relocate after many were required to move to West Virginia to begin employment. Which is also funny because Tim, for those of you who don't know, doesn't even live in West Virginia anymore. He actually lives in New Jersey at the moment. I'm sure most of y'all heard about that skate park fiasco that happened where he tried to build a community skate park and everybody was like, nah, because they don't like him. Pool recently commented on the Daily Wire split with Brett Cooper without disclosing his deal with the Daily Wire. It all just seemed like obvious contract stuff to me, wrote Poole of the decision between the Daily Wire and Cooper to part ways. I assume Brett wanted more money. The Daily Wire didn't want to pay anymore. Poole additionally has already had the Daily Wire as a silent minority partner in Timcast for months. So they've been paying this man's bills. The news follows Poole's confirmation following the federal indictments alleging Tenet Media was funded and directed by Russian nationals, that he will cooperate with the FBI. Media Right News contacted Poole to confirm the plans for Daily Wire to acquire his business, but did not receive an immediate response as of this publication. Yeah, man, not going to lie to you. It was pretty obvious that this man had, there was a switch, like I said in the hotspot video, because if you actually go back and watch his full interview with Max Blumenthal, I was actually surprised at how willing Tim was to hear Max Blumenthal's side. And whenever, I can't remember that guy who's oftentimes on Tim's show and is like a full Israeli shill. He was trying to cut Max off, and Tim was telling him to allow Max to finish so that Tim could hear both sides and that his audience could hear both sides and then render judgment after. And I was like, wow, this is actually a really good interview. I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting Max to actually be able to talk or for Tim to engage in a good faith conversation. And then it went from that. You could, hell, one could almost make an argument that maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe that conversation sparked the transition. It went from that to what I showed you guys in the hotspot video. Israel derangement syndrome. Whatever the fuck that is. Mentioning, you know how Zionists are. You mention a legitimate fact about Israel. You mention a legitimate fact about AIPAC. Literally, there's a video of Tim, of somebody saying you can't deny AIPAC's control over the U.S. elections. He says, I don't believe that AIPAC controls U.S. elections. It's like they spend more money than anybody else in the country on elections. And I mean, and you all already know they actually brag about doing so. It's not like they try to keep it a secret. He's like, I don't think that, Tim says, I don't think that means they have control over the U.S. election system. It just means that they're more influential than anybody else. And they wouldn't be more influential if people didn't inherently want them to be the most influential. Tim, that's not how propaganda works. I don't think you get the fallacy in that logic, my guy. Right? And what's crazy about this is, for those of you who don't know Tim from like the old days, how he ended up becoming as massive as he's become, Tim based his brand off of trying to be the logical liberal, right? I'm just going to try to tell her. It was like Jimmy Dore light, but with a little bit more grift. I could tell, I'm like, what he's saying is true. I don't really trust him. This is a Vice News liberal, right? That's where Tim used to work. And it's because he, for the most part, agreed with the majority of their politics. And Tim stuck to this label of being a liberal because, as you all know, probably until this day, but definitely more so back then, if you could grift off of claiming to be a liberal while telling conservatives everything they want to hear, you could become a millionaire. I mean, that's just how it was. Dave Rubin, remember, classical liberal. He rode that classical liberal wave to the bank, right? Became a millionaire off of it, became very successful off of it after leaving TYT. And it's funny, once again, that Jank has such a problem with Dave Rubin because he's like, I'm not Dave Rubin. Nah, motherfucker, like you're literally Dave Rubin with just with more steps. I don't understand why you got a problem. I guess he has people have problems with people that remind them of the worst parts of them. So yeah, Tim is very similar to Dave Rubin in that respect, but he was a little bit more logical, to be completely honest with you. Like, I can openly admit that. So now you fast forward, he's come out as conservative, whatever. But if you've watched his podcast over the years, he has actually become less logical, less based in fact, and more sensationalist. And if you look from October 7th until now, the change is like, it's not an evolution, it's a de-evolution. Because he went from, I'm open-minded, I'm willing to listen about this topic, because he says and admits over and over again, I don't know a lot. I don't know enough. I need to be educated. So for people to have taken this man seriously for so long is already beyond me, because the grift was apparent. When motherfuckers be flip-flopping from liberal to conservative, like, come on, bro. I don't believe in it. I can't take you seriously. When you say I went from I like the candidate versus I don't like a candidate anymore, that I can believe. When you go from I like a policy versus I don't like a policy anymore, I can believe that. But when you go from I used to support all of this shit and now I don't support any of it, and I actually conveniently support all of the opposite policies and politicians and pundits. Like, nah, I don't believe that shit. You're telling me everything that you've learned in your life. Like, now there's some, if you're saying I believe in policies that help people out of nowhere, it's probably because you've had some kind of eye-opening experience that now makes you support policies like pro-worker, pro-people, populist policies. That's a little bit more believable. But you don't usually see that transition because it doesn't really make you money. Just be honest with you. Most of us who've been here, we've been here. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see people grifting left. You see people like grifting off leftist politicians, but you really don't see people truly grifting left. They will be leftist and then make a hard pivot at some point into neoconservatism or neoliberalism when it's most convenient. Tim has always been as flimsy as a fucking leaf in the wind. And if I was actually a Zionist, if I was actually Jewish, right? Because there's some people who genuinely believe in this Zionist movement that are Jewish, that believe in Israel. Sorry for them. They don't know no better. But why would you want somebody like that representing your movement? That's like emblematic of how shallow your movement is, because Tim only supports who can pay him the most. I would not want somebody like that at the forefront of my movement. At the forefront, like, I don't want anything like that. I don't give a shit if he was. I don't want a left. We saw how that looks like. Everybody remembers TYT. TYT ain't gone nowhere. We know what it looks like when people get paid a bunch of money to pretend to be populist, leftist, pro-universal health care, pro-worker. It can actually destroy your movement or do serious damage to it at least. And Tim's so full of shit because this dude's always talking about freedom of speech this, freedom of speech that, freedom this, freedom that. Motherfucker, we all saw what happened to Candace Owens. She was fired from the Daily Wire because Ben Shapiro wanted her fired from the Daily Wire because she talked bad about Israel. After Ben Shapiro did a whole video a while back criticizing The Guardian for firing somebody for talking bad about Israel. And he's like, yep, that's where I want to go make my money. I would not want somebody representing anything that I believe in when they don't stand on no type of business. He don't represent anything consistently. The only thing remotely consistent about Tim is that fucking hat. That's it. It's the only thing consistent you're gonna get about Tim. Tim don't even know what Tim believes in. He look like Tim just reminds me just one of them guys who's just empty inside. I don't know how to explain. He just reminds me like I'm just gonna say whatever I have to say. Nobody believes in me anyway. Like, people only want me for my money, so I'm just gonna say what I gotta say and make money, pay people to like me. Create a circle jerk on Twitter. But like, don't nobody, even conservatives that I know, they don't really like Tim in real life. So Maybe he just really don't care. He will say whatever he has to. But people like that, especially with the audiences that they get and the money that they get and the investments that they get, like, they're dangerous. Tim is actually a dangerous actor because when you can flip-flop so much and have zero consequence to your personal life and your business, like, that's an issue. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm praying on his downfall. I'm just saying I wouldn't be mad at it. With that being said, I want to talk about. Hold on, sorry, I think we got a super chat. Christian, what's going on, man? Goddamn, Niko, what's popping, my brother? Had me scared. Haven't seen you in a minute. I seen a hot spot. It was scathing hot. Was a banger. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, bro. Hey, it's the holiday season, dog. So you know, it's been wild with the kids trying to get all the activities in. And I'm in Brazil, so y'all know Rio is we on reverse seasons. So for us, this is actually the end of the school year. So everyone's graduating and there's a bunch of parties and festivals and all, like, everybody's doing end of the summer or beginning of the summer stuff right now. Yeah, I went to my oldest graduation from kindergarten yesterday. That was crazy. He had a party the other day. Like, we're doing like I coach soccer. I don't know if y'all know. So for the school that I help coach at, we're doing like a party on Sunday, like an end of the school year party. Yeah, it's been wild. So, but I'm alive, man. Yeah, we good. We all right. I actually had to move my whole setup upstairs because my kids my oldest is not here for the summer. So yeah, my baby is basically not a baby anymore. He's 9 months, but he's walking. He's trying to talk. He doesn't want to let me do anything. The moment I sit down to like read something, or I'm like, let me sit down and listen to this video real quick. Everybody wanted to just show up in the living room, and nobody wanted to be in the living room. Oh, Dad about to work. Psh. Hey, Dad, did you see this? You want to play Switch with me? You want to do this? So like it's been wild, but yeah, I'm alive, man. We good. I actually while we're talking about it, before we move on to the Uhuru 3 movement information, I'm actually going to be doing a segment out here where I go to the street and interview Brazilians, like, about just random stuff. Like some of it will be politics, but I actually want to try to keep it light because talking about politics all the time kind of gets old, and a lot of Brazilians actually don't even understand their politics enough to talk about it. So we're going to talk about like just their perception of Americans, just life in Brazil compared to other places they've been, just things like that, fun stuff. I'm going to be posting on YouTube Shorts and TikTok and Instagram. It's going to be really good. And y'all, for those who want to hear me interact with people in Portuguese, you're going to have your opportunity. I'm going to have a translation at the bottom, but you're going to have your opportunity. It's going to be fun stuff. Can't wait. With that being said, we're going to end the year on some positive news, guys. Finally, the Uhuru 3 will not be getting any jail time. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this article for you guys so that y'all can see it. Man, I was so happy. Which it's crazy that the good news don't be getting talked about as much as the other news. But we're going to talk about the good news because Lord knows we need some hope in here. We need some hope in here. St. Louis activists avoid prison. Reenact Russia conspiracy trial in live stream. 1 second. So y'all can read it too. 3 activists with St. Louis ties will not face prison time after being convicted of conspiracy charges. A U.S. district judge in Florida ruled that the Uhuru 3 will instead face 300 hours of community service and 36 months probation, which is a victory. Because one, I mean, if you know anything about the Uhuru movement, 300 hours of community service might be the lightest of light work that I have ever seen. Like, that is possible. doing community service is literally their job. That's all they do is community service. In fact, one can make an argument that the community service is that they've done historically is what landed them in this predicament, unfortunately. So, and the probation is like, whatever. Like, but somebody was trying, the system was trying to put the Uhuru 3, led by Chairman O'Malley, in prison, right? Because they still wanted to attach a charge to them because they were acquitted. And we're going to go into that in a second. But this judge decided, yeah, we're not going to play that. But he had to give him something because this was a sentencing hearing, and they were found guilty of a conspiracy, even though they were not found guilty of literally anything else. So that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. That trio includes African People's Socialist Party's chairman Omali Yeshitela and committee chair Penny Joanne Hess, as well as Uhuru Solidarity Movement chair Jesse Neville. Last year, they were indicted on charges of acting as unregistered Russian agents. Russia, guys, as usual. They each face up to 10 years for that charge, but were acquitted by a grand jury earlier this year. A jury convicted the three of conspiracy, a less serious charge. The Uhuru members and allies celebrated the sentencing Monday morning at a press conference outside the U.S. District Courthouse in Tampa, Florida. Members of Hands Off Uhuru, a group advocating for the release of the Uhuru 3, hosted a live stream outside the courthouse with activists including Fred Hampton Jr., the son of Illinois' Black Panther chair, Fred Hampton, who was killed by a police raid in 1969. So yeah, man, for some of y'all might remember, I interviewed Chairman Yeshitela about this situation. The charges were trumped up. They were made up. I'm just going to take the W. I feel like this was one of those somber moments of, thank God, not everybody in the U.S. justice system is a complete piece of shit, right? Like, we know I don't have any trust in the justice system. I hope for the best, but unfortunately, I generally tend to expect the worst. It's not because I don't want to be hopeful. It's just because it's hard to get your hopes up when you know the system is created to destroy activists like the Uhuru 3, like Chairman O'Malley. And when you know when you know U.S. history specifically and what they've historically done to Black activists who have been effective in their activism, like Chairman O'Malley has, because Chairman O'Malley has not only been effective in his activism and has built a legacy here in the U.S., but he's done it all over the world. We know how that story generally tends to end. And his could have easily been ended that night that they raided his house and put him and his wife in handcuffs in the middle of the fucking night. We know how that, they talked about Fred Hampton Jr.'s, or Fred Hampton Jr. showing up. We know what happened to Fred Hampton, how they killed him middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? And claiming to be a raid, and they claim that he fired first, and they give whatever excuse they had to justify killing Black activists. So I'm very, very thankful. I will say, of course, and we can't go without mentioning, obviously the conspiracy charge is bullshit. Because how can you be acquitted of literally everything else? It's okay. You say I'm guilty of conspiracy. Conspiracy to do what then? Conspiracy of what? But personally, the reason I feel like they were given a conspiracy charge is because they know, the federal government knows, everybody knows, if you don't slap something on them, they're going to sue the shit out of you. And they're probably going to win. And even still, they're probably still going to sue. They're probably still going to countersue. And they still might win. There's a good chance that they could win for all the time and the money that was spent trying to defend themselves in this case. But I trying to keep it positive because we needed a W as a people right now. You know what I'm saying? I know that the U.S. healthcare worker situation feels like I can't say that. I'm just saying, like, you know what I'm saying? But we needed maybe a less violent W going into the end of the year. Oh boy. I'm happy, bro. I'm happy. I'm very happy. They will not be serving no jail time. O'Malley can go back to doing his great work. The group can go back to doing their great work. And activists finally have some reason to have some semblance of hope that the system isn't completely and totally far gone. That totally innocent people can be thrown in jail for anything. And speaking of potentially innocent people being thrown in jail for literally anything, this Luigi Mangione situation, I feel like it's not going the way that they had planned this whole thing to go. Does anybody else get that sense? Like, I want to be clear about something. I don't know if Luigi is actually guilty. I'm almost pretty sure he's not. And I think a lot of people feel that same way. There's this like assumption by the other side, the CEO lovers, that Luigi's guilty. And that people are celebrating Luigi because they know that he did it. And I'm like, I just feel like there are people who are celebrating the fact they're not celebrating him specifically being guilty of assassinating effectively this CEO. They're cheering him on against the system. And they might be celebrating a CEO getting their comeuppance, or rather the system or somebody who's representative of the system getting their comeuppance. But I think that the majority of people actually believe that he's probably being scapegoated. And I don't think that I'm wrong in that assumption. Lion Drew, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy holidays to you and yours. And for your tireless efforts reporting the truth in the community. Free Palestine. Amen. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. I appreciate that super chat. But the reality is, if you've been paying attention to what's going on with this Luigi Mangione thing, it's clearly an anti-Luigi Mangione or anti-shooter campaign, anti-CEO, United Healthcare CEO shooter campaign. And because they're making a show out of it. It's like people get killed every day, B. Well, like, I don't know if y'all ever seen Paid in Full. Niggas die every day, B. It's true. And that's unfortunately, especially true in the US healthcare system. That's the sad part about this whole thing. People die every day. Hell. Important people. Do y'all know that there are presidents who have been assassinated in Africa over the last 2 or 3 years that didn't get 1/1,000th of the news coverage as a CEO of a healthcare company has gotten? Do y'all not find that weird? Do y'all not feel like that's part of the problem? Right? And so with that in mind, and with the fact that we're being inundated with like, not just like news coverage. Okay, it's a pretty big, it's a big case happening in New York. News coverage about people dying, what? But like, why the hell are we getting Getty images of this man pulling up to New York? Dog, y'all gotta see some of it. They're trying to make it an anti Luigi Mangione PR campaign to make an example out of him. And in my opinion, it's blatantly obvious that's what they're trying to do. But hold on, let me find this. I'm trying to find. I gotta find this fucking picture, y'all. Oh no, I know. I'm gonna show y'all, my man. I'm gonna show y'all what we.
My man Greg did for Hotspot. Just edit it. Yo. There we go. Hold up. Shout out to Greg.
See, I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. And niggas trying to take my life away. I put a hole in a nigga for fucking with me. My back on the wall, now you gon' see. Better watch how you talk when you talk about me. Cause I'll come and take your life away. Many men, many men. Push that on me, dog. I don't grind no more.
Do y'all understand how ridiculous that it is that we have this amount of footage? They got photos of this dude. Let me see if I can find the photo. Holy shit. Luigi Mangione actually got his own Twitter and he got verified. While he was in prison? That's crazy. Let me find his photo. Bruh. What? Do you see this? And what's crazy is they thought that this photo was going to make him look like the villain. They said, let's put as many cops around Luigi as we possibly can to make him look guilty. Because I want to be clear about something. I mean, we don't know if he's guilty or not, but the truth is the way that the U.S. justice system is supposed to work is that you're innocent until proven guilty. Not to mention, guys, is this man like ex-Special Forces, ex-Delta Force? Does he have some combat or like fighting experience that makes him more lethal than we had previously been told? Because what the hell, guys? Y'all telling me y'all went full battle rattle to escort? I mean, he ain't a kid, but like for all intents and purposes, he's kind of a kid. Like he's a very, very young man. When they went to go arrest him, he wasn't putting motherfuckers in headlocks and like y'all have Kevlar vests on, helmets on, M4s, body on. I mean, what? What is this? It's a show. It's a show, guys. You want to know how you know it's a show? Look at this motherfucker right here in the background. Look at Eric Adams. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Y'all know what? You know what? I'll let y'all know what Eric Adams had to say about this. Of course, people had the same question. Like, Eric, what are you doing, my guy? This man's he's a clown. He's such a clown. Eric Adams explains why he joined Luigi Mangione's perp walk. I wanted to look him in the eye. Boy is a clown. New York Mayor Eric Adams on Thursday provided some clarity on why he joined the perp walk for suspected CEO shooter Luigi Mangione. Mangione, 26, was transferred from Pennsylvania to New York on Thursday to face the new federal charges stemming from the December 4th killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Upon his arrival in New York City, Mangione was escorted by an entourage of dozens of law enforcement officers, some even wearing tactical gear. Because why? We don't know, but they decided, hey, man, Luigi's dangerous, dog. We got to put some protective lenses on just in case, which is bizarre. I can't begin to explain how weird that is. I'm sure if I got anybody in law enforcement who watches the show that can comment on how fucking weird that is, please explain in the chat, because that shit's crazy that they did that.
Upon his arrival in New York City, in the many photos of the perp walk that have since been published, one thing continued to stand out. The mayor of the city, just a few steps behind the suspected killer. After the walk, Adams was asked why he felt compelled to join the police for Mangione's arrival. I was at a conference a few days ago with the top CEOs of IBM, Deloitte, and it was a room full of CEOs and government officials. And the shooting, the intentional shooting, and the response after really traumatized the entire industry. Oh my God. Those poor, wealthy bastards. Not the CEOs of IBM and Deloitte. I don't know what the hell Deloitte is, but oh God. Those poor government officials and CEOs. Oh shit. I'm just wiping out my tear real quick, y'all. Episode. Oh. Guys, come on. We gotta take this trauma seriously. It's not anything comparable to that. Like what? Like you're gonna compare the fact that your family can't pay for medication, like life-saving medication, can't pay for insulin, can't pay for heart medication, can't afford that life-saving surgery. You think that trauma is comparable to watching one CEO get killed? Oh God. You're so selfish. God, you guys are assholes. What? Look, the CEOs, guys. The fuck is wrong with this, man? These people let words leave their mouths, and it's like they don't even hear them as the words hit the ground. It's like, I know you did not just see that shit. You did not just say the word trauma in reference to a room full of CEOs and government officials. Mind you, guys, I mean, like, I know these two things seem somewhat unrelated, but like, I could give literally zero fucks about government officials right now as a genocide is going on in Palestine. And I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on in Syria. All hell's breaking loose in Syria. And everybody just allowing it to happen for the sake of maintaining their office as they keep taking AIPAC money. Like, I don't give two fucks about a government official. So, yeah. But anyway, people forget that. People forget about those traumatized CEOs. And I wanted to send a strong message with the police commissioner that we're leading from the front. I'm not just going to allow him to come into our city. I wanted to look him in the eye and say that you carried out this terrorist attack in my city, the city that the people of New York love. And I want to be there to show the symbolism of that. Boy, shut your... This motherfucker is so corny, dog. Oh my God. You are corny. Eric Adams need to go. Y'all need to get him up out of there. I don't even know anybody in New York that likes him. That's what's crazy about it. I don't know anybody that voted for him personally. But, hey, those poor CEOs, man. Is anyone going to speak for the CEOs? First of all, I want to, once again, back to the fact that this is an anti-Luigi Mangione PR campaign. Which, by the way, should probably raise some red flags about whether or not he actually is guilty. Why Eric Adams is using the word terrorist attack. That is intentional. That is deliberate. Like you are connecting one man killing another man to terrorism because of how important the other man is perceived. Do you understand? That's like a dangerous precedent, but it's intentional. It's intentional because Luigi, is being trotted out to be made an example of. And I don't know whether or not he's guilty. Once again, there's also the reality that he's technically innocent until he is proven guilty. I know, guys, the manifesto that he was just like, I don't even know how the police did their job without Luigi just conveniently having a manifesto on him and remembering, oh, shit, got to make a McDonald's run. Can't forget my manifesto, though, before I go. Like, God, thank God for that, or else we wouldn't have any information about this guy. Like, what? Shit like that is making me question a lot about this case. But regardless of whether or not he's guilty, he's innocent until proven guilty. And the media should be reporting it as such. But that's not how it's being reported. And then you got politicians using this as PR. Almost with Mayor Adams, who knows, it could be PR for himself, or he could have been sent as a statement so that he could talk about it, to accuse him. Because legally, Mayor Adams can say whatever he wants to, not whatever he wants to, but he can accuse him and be more direct and more malicious in his verbiage without any repercussions, in a way that a police commissioner or a DA cannot. And you're like, I want to look him in the eye and call him a terrorist? What? I would want to look him in the eye and figure out if it was actually him. But what y'all got to understand is, when it's an anti-PR campaign, what the guilt or innocence of the person that is being publicly humiliated, publicly villainized, that's irrelevant to these people. It's the PR. That's the point of all this. For all we know, the person who could actually be out there guilty of committing this crime, it is technically a crime, he could just be out there at McDonald's right now without a manifesto on him. You ever think about that? They're acting like investigation shut down. We got the guy, we indicted him. That's one suspect. Usually murders have like multiple suspects. But maybe it's not about the suspect. It's about making an example of a person. Which is probably why it's even like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Canada to go get this motherfucker. It's like, bro, but the problem that they're having, though, this is the problem that they're having. When you make, first of all, let's go back and look at this photo. Because they definitely didn't think this shit through. This makes him look cooler than like they wanted him to, I'm sure. Like, this was not their intention. First of all, I need y'all to understand, we don't like cops. The majority of the country does not like cops. I know that people will find that hard to believe. We don't like the system, but the majority of the country doesn't like the system. The majority of the country is either indifferent when it comes to police, or they don't like them. Okay? So, putting a bunch of cops around him, like, that's going like, yeah, man, everybody loves cops. Let's put a bunch of cops around him to make him look even more guilty. The more cops that are around one single person unnecessarily, the more innocent that person looks. In my experience. We don't fuck with cops anyway. We don't do pork around here, my guy. We don't do the oink oink. We don't fuck with pigs. So I don't know why you thought putting cops around was gonna make him look less cool. I've not seen so many people cheering for the villain to win the story, the villain, quote unquote, to win the story since Scarface. That's what's happening right now. There is, so you know it's going to be a grand jury case. They're going to have to pick a jury, and you know they're having some trouble right now. Hold on one second. Luigi Mangione prosecutors have a jury problem. So much sympathy. Bruh. The jury selection in Luigi Mangione's upcoming murder trial may be challenging due to high level of public sympathy surrounding the alleged killer. Niama Romani, who leads the West Coast trial lawyers, emphasized that Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg will need to be cautious in screening jurors to avoid stealth jurors. That's the first time I ever heard that. I never even heard that. I worked in the legal field in the military. I've never heard of stealth jurors. But those who may secretly sympathize with Mangione and want to acquit him as a statement against the healthcare industry. During voir dire, both the prosecution and the defense will probe potential jurors' biases and may remove those perceived to lean too heavily in one direction. Bruh. So like, it's so bad, guys. It's like their anti-PR campaign is so ineffective that now they have to be extra cautious because so many people have been negatively impacted by the US healthcare system. And simultaneously, so many people actually sympathize now with Luigi, who they don't even know are guilty or innocent. They don't even know if he's guilty or innocent, but they still sympathize with him. That is how much of a failure this PR campaign has been. Bruh. Maybe it's time for people to take a step back and realize that the adulation for Luigi Mangione, or the perceived adulation for him, the perceived sympathy, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Luigi. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe people can relate to a system. Like, look at what's going on with Luigi right now. If Luigi truly is innocent, he seems like what I've read, he comes from a well-off family, more or less. He was doing well for himself. But like, the reality of the situation is, who believes that if the entire system wants him to be guilty, who truly believes that he could get off of this? Because he's going to be charged with at least 4 felony accounts, ladies and gentlemen. Do y'all know that? And there's talk of the death penalty now. Hold on, my door keeps opening and shut. Anyway, he can be given the death penalty, and they're talking about it. Yeah, guys, there's school shooters, a lot of them, most of them actually, who've not gotten the death penalty for killing multiple kids. But Luigi Mangione could get it. But how many people of y'all believe that if the government truly wanted to scapegoat him, that he could get off? How many people believe that? Because if you believe that, I have some prime real estate in Gaza that I would like to sell you. Don't worry, it'll be there tomorrow. I can assure you of that. Because that's some bullshit. That is some if the government conspires against you, if the system wants to conspire against you, especially if they have enough advance notice, you are going down. There's nothing that you can do about it, except for maybe leave the country. But in Luigi's case, that didn't even help. So, do you understand what I'm saying, guys? It's that feeling of helplessness. When you watching all those cops surrounded him, you like, that's how I feel. Because who here has had to put a claim in for your health? Bro, I got TRICARE, ladies and gentlemen. I fucking TRICARE. And I've had my hell to deal with when it comes to the healthcare industry. I have the best healthcare that you can literally have. My healthcare is probably better than most medical doctors' healthcare. I'm not even joking about that. Like, I'm very, very lucky. And yet and still, not really, because I end up finding that something else gets taken away that was once covered every single year, and I'm being charged more and more every single year. Like, it's the most bizarre shit. I'm like, hold up. So I have less coverage. Yep, less coverage. Okay, and less options. Yep, less options. And you're going to charge more. Yep, you're going to have to pay $25 more. But y'all charged me more last year. Yep, we sure did. And then y'all took away more last year. We sure did. So what am I paying for? What am I paying for if I'm getting coverage taken away? And I'm having to pay. I would have to pay more co-pays and things like that. And I got the best healthcare you could possibly have in the U.S. So imagine how people feel when they got to make 30,000 calls, sit on the phone for hours, go to the hospital again, go to the clinic again, go talk to the billing department again. I was told that this was covered. I was told that this was covered. I was told that there was no deductible here. Why was I told the surgery is going to be paid for and I'm getting a bill before my operation? Telling me if I don't pay it, why was I told? How was I? What was I? And it's like the entire system is in a conspiracy theory. It's like not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy, really. The entire system is in a conspiracy to make sure that you keep paying as much as humanly possible while you get shit for it in return. Right? That's how. So when people see Luigi, that's how they're like, man, look at that. Look at the system. They don't even know if he's guilty or not. They're like, shit, if he isn't. Because there are a lot of people who probably believe that he's not guilty. They just pick some random guy. And bro, like the shit that I've been seeing has been, it's hilarious. It's kind of like, once again, it's the reason, the foundational reasons as to why people feel this way is what makes it sad. But it's also crazy because of how hard they're working to take him down. Oh man, I don't have the picture. Dog, I saw this photo. Y'all know that this man somehow got his, he got a haircut before the trip to New York. He got his eyebrows done. That man he came out of jail looking better than he did when he went in. I bullshit you not. There are people making memes about it already. Italian Stallion, I think he'll get whacked in jail before the trial. I could see them not being able to find a jury that won't nullify. Yeah, because I could see that. I could definitely see that, especially if he actually has to stay in New York. I don't think he should be allowed to stay in New York. I think that they should move him. And it's like you said, it seems like, based off of what that attorney said, it's like their job is to find a jury that will give them the result that they want, not to find a jury who will analyze the evidence as it is, hear the arguments of the prosecution and the defense, and reach the conclusion that they should. When you start over-analyzing a jury, that becomes dangerous. You're entering into uncharted territory. You're trying to manipulate the outcome of the case, not control abstract outcomes. Like you're trying to control uncontrollable outcomes. Like you shouldn't have control over that outcome. The jury should. And we have a system to pick juries, and we also have a system to make sure that a jury, a person in the jury can withdraw themselves. And but for grand juries, they already have a strict system in place. So why are you making an exception? Once again, you know why you have to make an exception? You got to make an exception because there are so many fucking people in the world, so many people in the country that have been negatively impacted by the U.S. healthcare system that you can't go. 1 out of every 5 people you try to put in this fucking jury has a bias against the system.
But they gonna keep telling y'all Luigi is the villain. Even if Luigi is guilty, that makes him a criminal. That makes him a felon. But what they don't understand is, from many people's perspective, that does not necessarily make him the villain. And I said before, yo, we went this whole presidential election, guys, without talking about healthcare. Do y'all realize that? A lot of people don't even realize, because it was so much fuckery this election. It was so much drama, which is what they usually use to distract us from the necessary issues, right? And in Palestine was such a huge issue. Okay, that's true. But there was so much drama, assassination attempts, fake black people, dementia, bad tans, just crazy shit. We didn't even get the health care. Nobody wanted to talk about it. None of they didn't want to debate about it. The pundits didn't want to bring it up during interviews. But everybody's talking about it now. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Nobody wanted to talk about healthcare, and look at the results. Now everybody's talking about healthcare. So it's a matter of perspective. Villainy. Everybody's villains in somebody's story. Somebody somewhere thinks I'm the worst guy they have ever met in their life. They think I'm the fucking devil's seed somewhere. Somewhere. I'm the villain in somebody's story. Everybody is a villain in somebody's story. But the more relatable you are, or your actions are, the less likely you are to be the villain in somebody's story. The more relatable your experiences are, the less likely you are to be a villain. So just because you find him guilty, just because he becomes a felon, it's like, I mean, by comparison, the Democratic Party kept trying to throw out the fact that Trump is a felon, right? Felon. You can't vote for a felon. This isn't just an election. I'm prosecuting Trump. That's what they were doing, right? Because they wanted to, from their perspective, Trump is the villain because he's a felon. But from the Democrats' perspective and the liberals' perspective, also the other felon in the other family, Hunter Biden, oh, he's a victim. He's not a villain. He's a victim. Felon, and actually got off on a lot of shit that he shouldn't have got off on. They didn't even bring the charges, the amount of charges against him that they could have and probably should have. And they view that felon as such a victim that when Biden pardoned him, they made excuses for him pardoning his guilty son after he promised that he wouldn't. Why? Because villainy or the villain is a matter of perspective. So you can be a felon. That doesn't mean you're the villain. I want to check out this clip really quick from earlier this week on The View and their reaction to this Mangione situation. Y'all remember to like this video, share this video. Shout out to Case Study QB.
Polarizing reactions continue over the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Yesterday, alleged assassin Luigi Mangione had this outburst while he was being taken into a Pennsylvania court. Take a look.
As completely out of touch, as an insult to the intelligence of the American people,
and there's been widespread condemnation Thompson. Yesterday, alleged assassin Luigi Mangione had this outburst while he was being taken into a Pennsylvania court. Take a look.
As completely out of touch, as an insult to the intelligence of the American people, and lived experience.
And there's been widespread condemnation of the killing. And then there's supporters of Mangione, as well as an outpouring of people posting healthcare horror stories about claims of being denied. Now, the vast majority of Americans want the healthcare industry fixed. But I got to tell you, murdering someone is not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. So what is this? I guess people are thinking of it as a lack of empathy.
You hear me now, right? Everybody good? We can hear me? I'm straight. I think y'all can hear me. Let me make sure. Feel like y'all can, yeah, y'all can hear me now. Okay. Yeah, that's wild, bro. I was going a little bit too hard on Luigi, I guess. Maybe that was just. Hey, my power just went out. I swear to God, it just went out for like 2 seconds and came back on. Oh, man. So, yeah, we're going to finish this clip, but first of all, ain't the majority of Americans want the healthcare system fixed? I feel like literally everybody does. It's not the majority. It's all of us want the healthcare system fixed. It's horrendous. I would make an argument that the United States' best anti-immigration policy is the U.S. healthcare system. Because you know how desperate I got to be to basically pack up my family and move to the U.S., leave free healthcare, because like everywhere else in the world has it. Like literally. If you're remotely developed, you have free healthcare. And way cheaper medication. So it's like I'm gonna pack up my family, go to the US, and roll the dice on my life. Because that's basically what you're doing. You know how many people have visas, right? They study in the US and they're like, damn, bro, I love almost everything about it, but I can't live here. Why? Bro, what? I don't want to die. Bro, you know how many people in college I knew like that? I'm like, are you going to get your visa to try to stay? Nope. Why not? Because I don't want to die. Y'all healthcare system is trash. So ain't this the majority of Americans? It's everybody wants this shit to be fixed. That's y'all problem. Y'all want to like caveat. There's no caveat to this.
Over this murder. What does it say about where people's heads are at?
I don't know if it's a lack of empathy or people are outraged by the healthcare system in this country. It doesn't justify killing.
I do want to remind everybody that these people have attacked more or less every single candidate who has tried to bring overhauling reforms to the healthcare system. Just want to remind everybody, in defense of the neoliberal who wants everything to stay the same. So I just want to make sure everybody remembers that as we continue this clip.
Anybody, to me, anyway. Yeah. I think it's a very stupid idea, bad idea. But, you know, when you read the, murder's bad. Murder bad. Voting.
Generally speaking, murder's bad. Generally speaking. I'm gonna leave it at there. If we could, I would prefer to avoid murder, like if it's possible. But I'm just saying, logically speaking, sometimes it's not possible. I'm just going to put that out there.
Good, murder bad. Yeah, okay, let's get that straight. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people go bankrupt. 500,000 people go bankrupt in this country every year because of healthcare issues. It doesn't seem like an American idea that only rich people can afford to be sick. And yet it is an American idea.
Actually, that seems very American. That's literally as American as apple pie, bro.
Yeah, but some people assign if you don't feel a little bit of glee or that you're out of touch or you don't understand. And I'm sorry, but at the lowest low, this is not the way I was raised. My heart is not allow for this. Check in with your minister, check in with your parents, check in with someone. Because if you in any way feel this was the...
Hey, don't check in with your minister because they're going to show you some testaments, okay? Look, everybody who been in church, y'all done seen God's wrath. Y'all seen some scriptures about what happens to people who take advantage of the plebs, of the working class, of the poor class, of the needy. Guys, right? Hell, don't go to your pastor, right? Because if y'all was your pastor, I'm like, look, y'all know what the Bible say. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Answer. You need to look at yourself. And this guy had every privilege in the world. I've said this before. His grandfather was frustrated with things. He didn't like government bureaucracy. He was a bricklayer, an immigrant, and had 10 kids. And guess what he did? He created nursing homes. He didn't like the country club in their area as he had money and wealth because they didn't treat him right. So he opened his own country club. This guy is riding on the back of that family and all they built. He could have gone in to a system and done something, and he's trying to be a revolutionary. This is a civilized country. We don't do.
So once again, when we talk about the anti-PR campaign, this conversation that she's having is an assumption of guilt. He's trying to, you don't know what Luigi's trying to do. We know what he's done in the past. That does not make him guilty. But it's I wasn't raised like this. I was raised right is right, wrong is wrong, and do what you gotta do to make wrong right. That's how I was raised. Just make sure that you do it in the smartest way possible. Because not everybody's gonna perceive your right as the right. Nor are they gonna perceive the way that you get to right as the right way to do it. So just make sure you do it smart. That's how I was raised. Justice is justice. So you were raised, and by the way, that's the majority of the world, I would say, or at least the majority of the country. There are a lot of people that were raised, hey man, ignore shit. How do you think we get to once again, I always tell, how do we end up at a Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, guys? Because too many people were told to turn a blind eye to injustice. Too many people. I was not raised like that. It's just from the bottom of my, no. Maybe that's the problem. Because if people were raised to pursue justice, or rather correct injustice or challenge injustice at its base, it wouldn't bubble over the fucking top like this. Just saying.
Do this. And by the way, this does not change things for everyone that's sitting there. They're going to put one more pawn in there. If you want to change it, and I understand the outrage. There are people sitting in emergency rooms with 1-year-olds, people that can't get beds for kids with disabilities. The list goes on and on. I am not out of touch with the reasons. This is never the answer. Who's next? What elite is next?
Hey, did you say the quiet part out loud, everybody? Did y'all hear that? Let's hear it.
The list goes on and on. I am not out of touch with the reasons. This is never the answer. Who's next? What elite is next?
Quiet part out loud. Mask off. That's why you scared. That's why you mad. And it's probably far beyond healthcare. Like what she's talking about is not even healthcare at that. When she made that statement, because that fear that you see, that's real. What elite is? That's your motherfucking problem, guys. That is your motherfucking problem. Excuse my language. If I got any kids watching, I know some of y'all watch your kid. That is your fucking problem. And I said, what I said earlier, I said the words leave their mouth, it hit the ground. It's like they don't even hear. It's like, did you hear what you just said? What elite? I know that there are hundreds of thousands of people who've gone bankrupt. Hundreds of thousands of people have died. 100,000 people can't pay their bill. And by the way, before you go bankrupt, for those of you who have been privileged enough to not have to experience something like that, or have not known anybody like that, before you go bankrupt, do you know how long you are broke before bankrupt comes? Bankruptcy comes after you've been broke for a hot minute. So you've been living life on the edge, and then you finally were forced to declare it officially. So your life has been shit for years, and then you declare bankruptcy, basically. And she's like, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, people can't get beds, kids with disabilities can't get beds. Yeah, man, but what elite is next? That's what we should really be worried about, not what 1-year-old is next that can't get the health care that could save their life. That is not their concern. Your concern is what elite might be next. Like what Eric Adams said. Oh God. Oh man. CEO is so traumatized. I just said in the meeting with they're so traumatized. I'm not out of touch. Bitch, you are the definition of out of touch. You know how you know you're out of touch? Because the way that you phrase, because if you were, hell, you should have conferred with your PR department on how you phrase that. But you are so out of touch that you didn't even it didn't even register to you how ridiculous that sounds, that you are more concerned about the next elite that could die from a random assassination, because this position, that the CEO position, was chosen. The things that he did, the policies that he implemented as CEO, those were choices, right? That 1-year-old doesn't have a choice to be sick, nor he probably didn't have a choice in his healthcare. But you're worried about the next rich guy that might die. We only had one in history. Not only one rich guy in history, but one CEO who was killed allegedly because of the system, right? You're worried about that next person that will probably take another 100 years to happen, but you're not worried about the 1-year-old, the next 1-year-old. The next pharmaceutical company to not be held accountable for the corruption that they participated in. The next health insurance company that buys off Congress people so they can continue screwing us over. And the next person who dies because of that. That is y'all's fucking problem. The problem is, what you're trying to tell me, like, if this guy can get killed and this other guy can get away with it, and not only get away with it, but get cheered on, then like, are all of us up for grabs? Yeah, and it's because of like this type of shit. It's because of the way that this conversation is going. Because people hear this shit and you're like, y'all really don't get it. Okay, fine. And like I said, when they're like, oh, murder's never the answer. I would prefer for it not to be. The majority of the world would prefer for it not to be. I also, as a strapping young man back in the day, I prefer not to fight. I really did. I preferred not to engage. But I can tell you that I've been in more fights than I have fingers and toes. Why? Because that's life. And some things can't be resolved. When some things can't be resolved with words, people come up with creative ways to resolve the issue.
Microcosm of what's wrong with a lot of our society, and I think a lot of it's driven by the internet and the digital space, which is, this is a person, he's good looking, oh no, we're so surprised good looking people commit crimes. He's coming out
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, exactly. He's coming out in favor of a cause that I think people generally agree the American health care system is not great. He's not offering a solution. He had a 2-page manifesto. There wasn't a single line, as I read it, that explained, okay, so what would you like to do? What would be better than this?
Maybe because the manifesto wasn't written by him.
The system that we live in. And then there's this desire to cheerlead and kind of create like fan lore around this person rather than address, okay, the one takeaway we should have, well, the two, this is wrong. And now there are going to be kids who don't have a father on Christmas Day because the CEO was killed. But secondarily, that we all agree there may be a collective problem, but what are we doing to try to fix it? And
Hey, everybody, y'all been a part of this channel for quite some time. My memory is a little bit rusty. I'm getting old. But haven't there been a lot of us that have been doing a lot to try to fix the problem? Haven't there been candidates in both congressional and presidential elections that have tried to address the problem? I'm not crazy, right? Haven't there been events, movements, forced to vote, for example? Hasn't there literally been healthcare legislation that got sent through Congress multiple times since The View has been on air that The View just doesn't fucking talk about? It's the feigning of the ignorance to me. Oh, What are you gonna do about it? Why did he? What? Maybe he looked at the system, the person that was guilty of this killing. Maybe he looked at the system and was like, motherfucker, we can't do anything about it. This is the problem. Y'all, no one cares enough to even talk about it during a presidential election, guys. There is nothing that we can do inside the system to change what's happening. And it's because of people like y'all. Because when we tried to elect that person, when we tried to hold those congressmen and those presidents accountable or those candidates accountable, when we talked about the importance of healthcare, those stories that you're reading on Twitter and Facebook right now, those horror stories, that's probably not the first time that those fucking stories were told. Since social media has been invented, damn near, not all social media, but let's go early Facebook years or late to mid Facebook years. Since at least 2014, medical horror stories have been all over for y'all to see, because that was the first time in my lifetime that universal health care, like truly universal health care, not Obamacare, was actually being considered a possibility. And people dropped everything to campaign for it. And you're like, what are y'all doing about it? Bitch, we tried! We tried! What the fuck are you doing about it, rich bitch? That's what I want to know. Are y'all so scared that Elise might get murdered because y'all don't give a fuck enough? What have you given a fuck enough to do to try to fix the problem? What have you done differently? If you're that worried about, there's a kid that won't have his father, there's kids that won't have their father on Christmas. I feel for those kids. I really do. I truly do. And you know who else I feel for? All of those kids who have lost parents too early to preventable fucking problems. You know how many people have died of diabetes because of insulin? Not because of something that we have a shortage of. We have plenty of insulin. But because of something they couldn't afford. My brother, he's my adopted brother, but he had diabetes since he was 17. I can't tell you how many times he almost died because when he turned 18, Medicaid stopped paying for it. He couldn't afford it. And he also couldn't get a job at the time because he had to graduate high school. So he couldn't get a job at the time because he had to graduate high school. But he couldn't graduate high school because he kept ending up in a hospital because he was over 18 and he couldn't get Medicaid and pay for it anymore. And you can't be reliable if you're always in the hospital. Do you see the fucking cycle here? My brother almost died multiple times. And he was terrified to go to the hospital the first time when we found out he had diabetes, because he's like, I can't. Because you don't know what's going to get paid for, what's not going to get paid for. You don't know what the conclusion is going to be. People get terrified. So, Miss Rich Bitch, talking about, what is he doing about it? You the one scared. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. Go answer Allah. Fight the power. Amen. Sparky, Tim thought he was slick by pretending to not know much about Israel-Palestine issue, but he was a foreign correspondent. That was incredible. Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. He was a foreign correspondent for Vice. I completely forgot about that, man. Sparky, I was bringing some news. It was obvious early on he had to deal with Daily Wire. Would it be an epic troll for Sultan Erdogan to show up to the next international conference he attends in a sedan chair? No, yeah, it also would be an epic troll for what he did recently, which is criticize Israel. This is true. This is a true story, y'all. He criticized Israel for what they're doing in Syria. I bullshit you not. This is today. I'm like, if you don't shut your Erdogan, shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear nothing you got to say about Israel. We don't want to hear what you got to say about Syria or Palestine. When you were literally out there helping Israel get whatever the fuck they wanted in Syria. Do whatever they want in Syria. Then you're going to turn around and be like, this is unacceptable. As you sell them more oil. Anyway, appreciate the super chat, my guy.
I'm so frustrated that the discourse seems to be more around like celebrating him and excitement or like anger over the system, but not talking about solutions. And
we did.
And even, and this is not,
we did. Sorry, we did, guys. I don't, because we were there. I know y'all, most of y'all have been here for a minute. We did talk about solutions. We've been. We do. Y'all don't. And then y'all shame us for not fucking selecting the liberal cuck that doesn't want to talk about the solutions. And we say, man, he ain't talking about solutions. But do you want Trump to win? You think Trump will talk about solutions?
Want to be careful on how I say this. Bernie Sanders and Senator Warren put out statements decrying the ills of the healthcare system.
Yeah.
But they're part of the system. I think that we need to hold those who are in places of power who can make changes more accountable than to actually do something.
Why go after two liberals?
Well, because they put out statements specifically on
Let Sonny get in here.
I mean, I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well.
I'm sorry, why don't we hold our politicians accountable? Did she really just say that shit? Did she just say, yo, when we say Kamala don't have no healthcare, when we say Joe Biden don't have a health, like, what did they tell us? What did they tell us to shut the fuck up and vote anyway, right? They said, shut up, vote for him. Because Trump. Isn't that what they told us? When we were like, hey, AOC, squad, Bernie Sanders. Remember how y'all were like, man, we get all the power. This is what we're going to do. Y'all literally ran on universal health care. That's how y'all got fucking elected. That's how y'all got elected. That's what y'all got attacked the most for. Was your belief in universal health care. And when we tried to hold them accountable, what did they tell us to do? They told us to shut the fuck up. Even those progressives who no longer have shows anymore, they told us to shut up and vote for them anyway and support them anyway. And they're the best we're going to get. And they got the audacity to sit up here on this show, look us in the face and be like, why don't we hold our politicians accountable? Oh, baby Jesus.
Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it. But the notion that we are in a violent country, this country was built on violence. We're a very violent country. And it's just undeniable that that's the case. And so I'm not, unfortunately, surprised that people are celebrating the use of violence. I'm not surprised that this young man thought that change could be accomplished through violence. 1 in 4 Americans say violence against government sometimes is justified. And today...
Well, yeah, that part is the least surprising. We are the country of the American Revolutionary War. Yeah. I'm not surprised at Americans that we're taught from the time we were fucking 7, 8 years old that violence against your government, when your government is treating you bad, is perfectly justified. Believe that violence against your government when it's treating you bad is justified. We've been taught that since we were kids. I don't know. We are a violent country. She's absolutely right. Like, who was it that just invited? Oh, JD Vance invited Penny that killed the Michael Jackson impersonator in New York. Yeah, invited him to some what was it, a game or some shit. It's like right after this happened, like right after the CEO was killed, like right after everyone spent the next day saying that our country is not a violent country, that we are not inherently violent, that we don't celebrate violence. Like maybe a day later, JD Vance invites Penny after he for successfully killing a black man with mental health issues on a train. And you're like, we're not a violent country. We don't celebrate. Yeah, we are. The fuck, we are the country of MMA. We are the country of American football. We're like, we are the country of violence. That is our MO. We don't know nothing else. our politicians are actually wildly ineffective in any diplomacy that doesn't involve violence, because our diplomacy has been violence for so long, they know nothing else. They can't possibly have a conversation without the back of their mind thinking, I'm about to bomb the fuck out of this place if this doesn't go the way I want it to. Because that's all they've ever known. That's all they've ever been taught. That's all they've ever seen. The U.S. is violent. Won't the Luigi Mangione perp parade give his lawyer a polluted jury pool argument? Interesting that you just said that, because we actually just talked about the fact that there are lawyers who are worried about the jury pool. They're worried about sympathy. So they're now talking about interviewing all of the candidates, doing basically a more thorough interview process to ensure that they don't have a strong bias. So, I mean, once again, you can make the argument that it's actually an attempt to manipulate the outcome of the jury decision. So, but yes, you are correct.
In 2024, 1 in 10 Americans say violence is justified right now against corporations and government.
That's very scary.
Those are just.
And even though I don't think he might change something, he might have
We got two different definitions of scary, y'all.
laid out a plan for a copycat. That's what I see.
Yeah. And really, I mean, the thing to also keep in mind is, yes, solutions are needed, and they need to be recognized when they're offered.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my God.
Because we've had lots of solutions, lots of suggestions. We got Obamacare, then we got to fight for it. People who don't have insurance have to fight to find a way. We have solutions. We just don't. We don't do them.
We got
to take care. You know, there are things we can fool with and things we can't. Healthcare is one of those things that you shouldn't be able to fool with. And insurance companies who you pay, I pay into my insurance, you pay into your insurance. I don't understand. If I don't go to the hospital for a whole year, where's my money? Why don't you give me the money back? Then you don't have to worry about it. Because I feel like, you know, I said this, okay.
We got Bill coming on.
I know we got Bill coming, but Bill cares about this too. I'm just saying there are things that we can do that we've got at our finger.
The unmitigated gall. That is so fucking insane, y'all. That this group of women specifically, this group of women is like, when we have solutions, we got to recognize them. Why aren't people holding politicians accountable? Like, these motherfuckers didn't spend the last how many elections telling people ignore the solutions, or rather ignore the people who are bringing the solutions and celebrate and uplift. Speaking of Bill Clinton, by the way, because that's what they brought on next, whose wife was campaigning against universal health care. This is, I mean, you want to talk about fucking irony. They're bringing on the husband of the woman who is now known for being the bitch to campaign against universal health care and cheated her way into victory. Well, kind of. I don't know. I guess if you finish half the race, does it still count as a victory? Her loss will never stop bringing me joy. Anyway, but it's like, I hate this is why he's being, how do you say, I keep wanting to say elogiando. How do you, like, this is how you, like, this is why he's being celebrated, basically. Because, like, y'all feign ignorance. Y'all play stupid. Have some of y'all who might be from the South, who might got aunts and grandmas, y'all might have heard this phrase, don't play in my face. Like, another, like, don't play stupid. Don't play with me like that. Stop acting like I'm a dumbass. The American people feel like that when they watch stuff like this, and you're like, are y'all kidding me right now? Like, we've all seen the clips, bro. We've been here. Like, I didn't just download Twitter yesterday. We watched y'all fuck our candidates over. Ignore our policy requests. Ignore our events, these organizations. The Uhuru 3 have been being investigated since before, I want to say, maybe right after the pandemic or before it. I feel like it might have been before or during. And for at least 3 to 4 years, I think. Okay. Did The View talk about that? Like, y'all talking about all these 500,000 going bankrupt and all these people dying and da-da-da. Did y'all talk about that during the election? When y'all are demanding we vote for Kamala. Nope, and that's why CEOs get killed. So y'all want to point fingers at Luigi, and everybody else is saying, like, nah, bro, you got them 4 fingers pointing right back at you, motherfucker. That's what everybody else is saying. That's what everybody else is saying. You can, it is not his fault. He's like, yeah, he might have pulled the trigger, but the industry and everybody that protected it is culpable for that man's murder. And y'all don't want to say it. Y'all want to blame everyone for not, even if they're not celebrating the murder, like if y'all want to blame everyone for their apathy, for their lack of concern. You want to blame everybody else. You want to know how elites get, that's how, right there, that's how. The lack of accountability. And what you saw in that clip was a lack of accountability on full display. Moving on. Candace Owens had a conversation with Piers Morgan. And, you know, I always got to show whenever Candace makes someone else looks smart or look like an idiot, excuse me. Because Candace is wrong on a lot of things. However, once again, when it comes to Gaza, for some reason, she just keeps consistently getting it right. And her choice of words in her pursuit of trying to use her platform to bring attention to what's going on in Gaza is, in my opinion, even more impressive because she doesn't mince them in front of anybody. And once again, I will always say, Candace, I just wish that you were this good on the other issues that affect your community. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but like, yo, if you went this hard for your own people, Lord, baby Jesus, you know what you could do, my sister. You know what you could do with your platform if you went this hard, did this much research, delved this deeply into the issues of the system that's affecting your community. Oh, but we're gonna leave it at that.
The larger discussion that's happening right now is whether or not having survived a Holocaust gives you the permission to commit a Holocaust. And for whatever reason, people have been, what I would say, milking the Holocaust narrative in the same way that Black Americans were milking the slavery narrative and essentially saying, like, we lived through this and we survived this. And so now nobody can say that anything.
See, like, but that's not the case, though. That's, once again, that's the problem with Candace's whole thing. It's like this, I don't know, it's like I said, I think she has a self-perception problem. I believe it. I believe maybe she's so terrified that if she actually does look deeply enough into the issue, she will feel so overwhelmed, like, and helpless. Because that's what you find out after if you do enough research into the history of, like, basically how the U.S. government has, in a lot of ways, just tried to make the Black people of this country of the U.S. extinct. Like, it's overwhelming. It could make you emotional, trying to process all of it. And I do feel like Candace is like, doesn't want any part of it because it would make her feel helpless. it's easier to just victim blame in that particular situation because like she did when she was actually a victim in high school. I'm sure that some of y'all have seen that interview on Joe Rogan where she talks about this time where a kid basically tried to, some politician's son actually was treating her like shit because she was black. And she was actually the victim in the situation because of her race. And she refused to accept it. And it was like, because of the situation, she was being villainized because of who the kid was, the son of a politician. So like, I'm sure she didn't like that feeling of helplessness and doesn't want to experience it again. So, which is probably why she doesn't get that issue right almost ever. But I am thankful, however, that she is willing to have this conversation on Gaza.
We do is wrong. And that's the big issue today, is that we have so many people that will not recognize that it is totally feasible that a Jewish person, and I'm speaking here about Bibi Netanyahu, could do something as horrific as what was done to the Jews throughout World War II or throughout history.
But is that an accurate comparison? I'll tell you why I say that. As we know, I mean, whatever Dan Bilzerian wants people to believe, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Another 6 million people were murdered.
6 million, once again, is still it's debatable. It's like one of the numbers given
from the Nazis. The numbers of people being killed in Gaza are, in my view, have gone way beyond what is acceptable as a response to October the 7th. However, you're still talking about, at the moment, a death toll of under 50,000.
First of all, what number was acceptable? What number of babies was acceptable for a military operation against another? Like, is that a thing? So there's that. Second of all, that 50,000 number is fucking bullshit. I think everybody knows that. Nobody believes that there only been 50,000 people killed in Gaza. Where are you getting that number from?
There's no comparison in the amount of dead people compared to the Holocaust. So do you understand why?
But it is a Holocaust, what's happening.
Well, is it though?
Yes.
I think language is really important.
I think language is really important as well. And that's
people
why
say Holocaust, genocide,
I think what's happening is a Holocaust. The burning bodies of the children
Did he really just say, but is it though? Because I think language is very important. I think language is very important. I think that language is important too. And I think that words are important. I do believe that we assign definitions because those definitions help us know how we should react to a certain situation, gives us facts about certain situations. And if you did a fucking Google search, Piers, for the 1,000th time that you've done an interview about Gaza, because I can't even count how many times you've done interviews about Gaza at this point, and how many people have tried to help him understand what a genocide is? George Galloway, Candace. I mean, the list goes on. People have told you over and over and over and over again what made the Holocaust a Holocaust and what makes a genocide has literally nothing to do with the numbers. It has nothing. A genocide has the only thing that it does, that as far as the numbers go, is like a population is being disproportionately affected as compared to a different portion of the population. Maybe a percentage could be the numbers, but like that's about it. The percentage in a given area could be the number, but the amount, the literal amount, a genocide is a genocide. It is the intent to remove a group of people from an area, erase them by killing them or forcibly displacing them, which usually involves killing them, but it doesn't necessarily mean killing them. His argument is because they haven't killed all 2 million of the Palestinians in the area, that is not a genocide? What I want to know is, why are you working so hard to not call it a genocide? Because if you think words are that important, and you would have done the work already to know that, and I'm sure he has, because he's just faking like he doesn't know. But if words were that important, ladies and gentlemen, don't you think that he would have done the work to know what a genocide is? And to know that you don't need to You don't even need to successfully carry out the genocide for it to be a genocide. Israel intelligence released their plans to forcibly displace all 2 million Palestinians in the area after October 7th happened. They released and the intelligence community didn't even pretend like it wasn't, like, they're like, yeah, that's definitely, we wanted to make a deal with Egypt to take the ones that we didn't kill so that we can have all the land. Yeah, that's the plan. That's a genocide, sir. That is a genocide. They announced the plans. Like, Israel announces their plans for the genocide. And he's like, but is it a genocide though? We got to be careful about the words we use. Like, you're more concerned about the word genocide than the actual genocide being carried out. Just because you caveat, I think Israel has already killed more than the acceptable number of people. Like, okay, like, that's a shitty caveat for, like, but I don't think it's a genocide. Because it's like you're trying to disincentivize people from being outraged enough to demand that something gets done about it.
I'm seeing every day, and we spoke about this a little bit on my show, but like, I have recognized that the ability to see this stuff every day has transformed my opinion. Maybe the numbers wouldn't have gotten so high if people had spoken up when it was happening at the very beginning during World War II. And so I want to use my platform to say that I believe that they are intentionally executing a Holocaust. I think Bibi Netanyahu, there's tons of evidence, and obviously the Western media is not reporting on this, but the corruption trials that are going on with Bibi Netanyahu pertaining to October 7th and him editing the transcripts and the prior knowledge that he knew is now becoming extremely pertinent. It is a question as to whether or not he allowed the attacks to take place, essentially to then be able to go in and to commit this Holocaust against the Palestinians. Now, based on everything that I've looked into and stuff that I had not seen before, because the Western media doesn't cover it, Bibi Netanyahu caught off camera speaking about how he had no intention of following the Abraham Accords and how he was going to get around it. He has, I believe, genocidal ambitions, and that's enough. We don't need to dispute, go backward or forward. Do I think Bibi Netanyahu has genocidal ambitions against the Palestinians? The answer is yes.
It's really that simple. It's that simple. I mean, not to mention, like, BB has said it himself in front of the camera. Like, what? I don't know. What, he said there's no innocent people. He said there's no civilians. Like, but I mean, what's crazy about the BB situation specifically, right? Because it's crazy because BB could actually be there. If these people like Piers, for example, were smart, y'all would be like, there's a genocide being carried out and it's BB's fault, bro. Just scapegoat the hell out of him. Because even some people in his government have left because of how far he's taken it. You know, it's crazy when psychotic Zionist murderers are like, yeah, BB taking this a little bit too far, dog. Like, I'm all for killing Palestinians, but like, he doing too much. Psychotic Zionist murderers are like, BB is too psychotic for them. So if y'all Zionists were smart, y'all would just admit that it's a genocide, put it on BB, and be like, let's get BB out, let's stop the genocide, and y'all can keep y'all good faith with the Zionists. You know, and all the people that are paying y'all this money to not call it a genocide. Y'all can keep your good faith with Zionists, throw it, scapegoat BB, pretend like it's only him who wanted to carry it out. We know it's more, but, you know, you can scapegoat him and just leave it there. But y'all are so stupid and morally bankrupt that, like, even as you're seeing, you said 50,000 like that shit was somebody scraped their knee after they fell off of a bike. Like, I know the 50,000 people got killed. But is it a genocide? Bro, did you just say 50,000 people got killed? Like it's nothing? Count to 50,000 from one and see how long it takes you. Like, it takes forever to count to 1,000 from one. Count to 50,000. And once again, we know that number is fucking wrong. So there's that. It's close to like 100-something thousand at this point. But count to 50,000 from one, bro. But you say 50,000, like 50,000 isn't more than enough like 50,000 isn't more than enough to literally hang BB and everyone who conspired with him. That's more than enough. It's more than enough to call it a genocide. And the fact that you would insinuate otherwise is what makes this whole act that you're being objective and reasonable when it comes to the issue of Palestine and Israel bullshit. Everybody sees it like, yeah, you're full of shit. You're literally more concerned about debating the definition of genocide than you are about the 50,000 the 50,000 lives that you just casually toss out there. Like, it's 50,000, whatever. That's crazy, bro. It's psychotic. You're a psychopath. If you think 50,000 does not warrant the word genocide in every bit of the animus that comes with the word genocide, every consequence that comes with the word genocide. It is a genocide if it was 20,000 people. When it was 10,000 people, we were telling y'all it was a genocide, and we were still right. When it was 5,000 people, and we were telling y'all it's a genocide, we were still right. Because they told us what their intent was, and they were carrying out in front of us. It'll be right when it reaches 200,000. It'll be right when it's 250,000. And it was right when it was 2,000. It was a genocide then. It's a genocide still. And there's nothing more to it. There's nothing to be debated except for how steep the punishment should be for everybody who participated. That's the only conversation that we should be having right now. And how to repay, which I don't know if you can do that, but how to repay the Palestinian people for everything that they've gone through while everybody fucking sat on their hands, while every country sat on their hands, except for the country that didn't. The countries that didn't got attacked. One got overthrown because other countries that sat on their hands. So everybody who was complicit, everybody who conspired, how they helped rebuild and pay back the Palestinian people for what they experienced. How we punish those who conspired or were complicit, and how we make sure this shit never fucking happens again. Because if it happens to them, I'm just telling y'all, as a black person who knows enough about history, you're next. Even the elites. Y'all heard the lady off of The View. Oh my God, which elite is next? Everybody's up for grabs. Everybody. If you can allow a genocide hell, whenever the Holocaust did happen, people were quiet about it. Y'all do know that. Like, the Holocaust was going on, and they were like, yeah, so what's good, man? We gonna have the Olympics in Germany or what? Yep, as long as no Jews run. Oh, that's cool, man, whatever. Oh, speaking of Jews, like, what happened to your Jewish population? There's something going on with y'all numbers. Your census came back a little bit off. Ah, man, you know how things are. Numbers be crazy. Sometimes they don't be tuning in. They don't get the mail. Mail gets lost, so they don't get the census. Oh, okay, man, because like it's like 100,000 just like disappear out of nowhere. Like, you got anything to do with that? Nah. Me? Hitler, you see my mustache? You see how cute this is? Do I look like I would be capable of something like that? They knew what was going on, and all the allied powers sat back and let it happen. And that's how you do end up with millions of Jews killed. So when millions of Jews get killed because everybody sat back and let it happen, you thought an atomic bomb was off the table? When an atomic bomb was allowed to go off, you thought another one was off the table? Oh, whenever the second bomb went off, you thought a Cold War brought about by lies and deceit were off the table? Oh, you thought killing a million Iraqis was off the table? Killing hundreds of thousands of Afghans were off the table? Bombing Kosovo? I mean, Armenian genocide? We already, what Candace is saying is true. We know it's true because we saw it happen. They let the Holocaust happen without saying anything about it. And look what happened next. You get what I'm saying? But like I said, I just wish this research that Candace put into this topic, the work that she has done, I just wish she would do this with her own people. That's all I'm saying, y'all. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it at that. But like Candace, yo, come on, bro. Do some research. Like you talking about slavery. Oh man, black people just like, oh, all this problems because slavery. Nah, we definitely got the problem with you is that you seem to believe our story started and ended with slavery. It started with slavery and ended today. That's your problem. You can do all the research when it comes to Gaza, and you've done some phenomenal research and some phenomenal pieces when it comes to Gaza. And you understand how they started and how we ended up here. And Israel too. But when it comes to your own people in the States, you don't want to do that same amount of work. You don't want to talk about Black Wall Street or the fact that Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma wasn't even the only Black Wall Street that was burned to the ground with the government's help over a lie that it was a race war when it was really about the money that the community had because they didn't even fucking touch the houses. They just went over there and burned down the businesses and the bank that we still don't know the name of because they burned it down and they took the deed away. So there's no record of the fucking bank. Or the Black Wall Street in Chicago that was burned down. Or the one in, or the ones that were undermined in Durham, North Carolina, in Florida. Like, you don't want to talk about how we got here when it comes to your own community. That's your problem. That's why people, I don't care about you being a conservative. I don't care about you being, you can be religious and have conservative view. I don't care about that. That's not my issue. My issue is like, bro, you can't get this Gaza issue as right as you do and then get the issues with your own community as wrong as you do unless it is borderline intentional. It's like therapy level. It's giving therapy. It's giving, go find a therapist that can help you figure you out and why you are so I don't want to say disconnected and detached. I think that the problem with Candace isn't that she's disconnected and detached from the community, is that she's terrified of her connection to it because she knows what it can mean if she acknowledges the reality of what it means to be a Black person in the United States. In that her position and where she is right now in life came because of her just, yep, I was willing to throw the Black community under the bus, which is how most people in the US, in some way, form, or fashion, get to where they get. Hey, you can do whatever you want as long as you want to throw the motherfuckers under the bus. We good to go. FDR, New Deal, bet. But hey, really quick, Fair Housing Act, we just need you to make sure that niggas can't have shit. Is that cool with you? Bro, what you mean? I already put it in the bill. You can get whatever you want. Shut down all the banks after the Great Depression. Well, but Black banks, they fine. They didn't suffer at all. Yeah, but shut them down. Why? Because we're not about to let no Black bank pass up JP Morgan. We're not about to let no Black bank pass up no Wells Fargo, no Bank of America. Is not, and Candace is part of that. That's how she got to her level of popularity. So, like I said, she just needs to go see a really, really, really good therapist. Because I just find it hard. I genuinely find it hard to believe that you can get this issue so right and just get your own issues so wrong. Because this person that I just showed y'all the clip of, that Candace is genuine. That I believe everything she said, and I believe that she believes everything she said. And so when you have that capacity to be that genuine on an issue that could have cost her career, guys, that means that there's something else going on with you. Right? Like, I mean, I feel like everybody, because she was willing to throw her career under the bus for the finish. Like, that's insane to me that you're that willing to throw. I mean, if there was an issue to throw your career under the bus for, Gaza is it. That's for damn sure. But how many of her colleagues did the opposite of that? And you like went full fucking flip the table on this shit. Like, wow, okay, appreciate. I guess that's cool, but like, where was you? It's a self-worth issue because you didn't believe that black people were worth flipping the table over for. And maybe the kids, you know, she's still stuck in her same mindset from before, but maybe her having kids at the time the Gaza issue started was kind of like the catalyst to her awakening on this particular issue. Who knows? But got to get that together. Truly does. Y'all hanging with me. We almost done, y'all. We almost done. I wanted to talk to y'all really quick about this Duke lacrosse situation. Did y'all know about this? I know y'all know about the Duke lacrosse team. But did y'all know that the woman who, or one of the women who accused the Duke lacrosse team of this came out and said that she lied? Crystal Mangum, who accused 3 Duke lacrosse players of rape, now said that she lied. For those of you who don't know, that was back in 2006. Roy Cooper, who is now the governor, was actually the attorney general. Yeah, he was attorney general at the time. And it was 2. She was a stripper. There was one other woman. Now, those Duke lacrosse players were not found guilty. And, you know, I guess at this point, thank God they weren't. But their reputations were ruined. Duke, as I lived in North Carolina at the time. So I'm telling y'all, bro, like, everybody was like, well, shit, not going to Duke anymore. I'm about to put my application in UNC. Duke's reputation was trash. Because it wasn't just like the accusations. It was like, there's already a toxicity when it comes to fraternity culture at private schools and elite schools. But the way it was, because of the toxicity when it comes to fraternity culture, at these schools and sports culture at these schools amongst the guys, these women took advantage of it. And it kind of destroyed the lives of those men, even though they weren't found guilty. And this type of stuff right here, in my opinion, which might be somewhat controversial, but, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you got to serve some time. You got to be held accountable in some way, form, or fashion. Because this is damaging to actual victims. Do you know the hell Duke went through over this? Duke had to open up their own investigation. Everybody was getting invested. Every sports program, now people getting that word, because, you know, college, underage drinking is normal. But now all these people getting investigated and they getting in trouble, getting suspended, getting put on academic probation because they had to admit that they were at the party underage drinking and the teams are being sanctioned. Like, it was a whole thing because these 2 women lied after they were hired to be strippers at a party. And this hurts actual victims. And not to mention the lives of the people that are accused. And the families. Now you gotta have a whole conversation like, what? Like, bro, you was out here hiring strippers for your party? What the fuck was going on? This is what I'm paying $50,000 a year for? Like, you know how that go. Everybody been young once. You ain't trying to have that conversation with your mama. Good gosh. Mom, man, I hired some strippers and they accused me of sexual assault. Like, and now we on the news. Can you come defend me, mama? Like, boy, I wouldn't have to worry about the attorney general, the DA whooping my boy. I would be dead. I wouldn't make it to trial because I would have had to explain how we even got to that situation. But that's a different conversation. I'm just thinking of my mom's face, like, boy, my mom would fuck. Who she would whoop my ass? But in all seriousness, like, the inclination at the time was to believe that those Duke lacrosse players were guilty and Roy Cooper let them off. I remember Roy Cooper actually getting hell for not finding them guilty. Some of y'all who might be around my age or a little bit older probably remember that situation. Hell, there's still references to the Duke lacrosse team players in that situation. There's still like comedic references. There's still like people be like, oh, hey, don't get Duke lacrosse team. They're a whole adjective and a verb. When people think about rape culture in college, they usually reference the Duke lacrosse team still, and the fact that they got away with it. But it turns out they didn't get away with anything. She lied, or they lied. And those women got famous, got interviews on interview. I mean, dog, that's so fucked up to. And I gotta admit my own, like at the time, I think that I had my own bias. Like, man, those dudes are guilty as hell because of just I understood the culture of college. I'm like, and I just assumed based off of the emotion, right? It was strictly emotive, and that was wrong of me. I was young, like, so I don't mind admitting that. But I think up until this moment, probably up until that story came out, I probably just inherently believed that they were guilty and didn't even give it a second thought to how it could have affected their lives. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Brandon, it was about 20 years ago. No, 18, 2006. I was in high school. But yeah, I assumed that they were guilty and had given not a second thought to how it had affected their lives up to this point. You know, we know it did. Now, Roy Cooper got lucky because it did not affect him getting the election, but it did come up actually at some point while he was running. It did come up, but it didn't affect him that much. And it could have, but they had gotten past it. Because Roy Cooper ran in what, 2014, I want to say? 2014, 2015 when he won. So he got lucky, for real. And I guess I got to give him a shout out because he did his due diligence and those boys did get off. And they weren't guilty. So I'm not really that big of a fan of Roy Cooper, but at least, he did the right thing and didn't cave in to the culture in that particular case. And there was a lot of things. What's crazy too about this case is that there were actually a lot of things that called into credibility that called into question the credibility of these women. There was a lot of things that called into question the credibility. But the problem was at the time, no one wanted to hear that shit. And so, as it is important in every other circumstance, when we're talking about politics, policy, international issues, even issues like this, you got to hear all the facts, guys. And you got to be willing to hear every side, not just the side that you feel like you agree with the most. That's why I keep saying when it comes to this Luigi situation, I don't know if Luigi guilty because I'm listening to all the facts from that we know, and all the facts I know about the government, and all the facts I know about the situation, and I'm like, I'm not convinced that he's not being scapegoated yet. And I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty, so there's that. But I'm still not convinced I'm not convinced he's not being scapegoated. I'm not convinced this isn't just a big ass PR stunt. And for them, I mean, it's very rare, like, unless you got like a video of some shit, it's very rare that we shouldn't be doing that. We should always give the grace of, hey man, I gotta hear all the facts. I gotta hear all the facts. Man, this person was accused, because we see how the media uses that shit. The media figured that out a long time ago. They can accuse you of something, and it can destroy your career, guys. Think about that. They can accuse you. Can destroy your career. That's why it's so important that we as listeners, as consumers, take a step back and analyze the facts instead of reacting the moment we hear that person is accused. Well, motherfucker, you can accuse anybody of anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty. So, that's just crazy, man. That's crazy. And I would just say, before we get up out of here, like, don't also from the other side, don't let this story influence you and make you ignore inherently potential victims going forward. Like, because just like it was important to hear their side, the guy's side of the story, it is as important to hear the alleged victim side as well. And it is important for all of the facts to come out. And as hard as it is, guys, it's also important to kind of remove emotion and force yourself to be objective before commenting. Don't feel the need to comment on some shit quick. It's not necessary. I hate that, actually. Sometimes there's stuff that comes out and y'all might not see me talk about it when it breaks. Because I'm like, as much as it would benefit me to just cover some shit because it's breaking news, I'm not about to come out and give y'all a shit analysis about something just because it came across my timeline and everyone's talking about it right now. Because a lot of the time that people are talking about it, they're wrong in the beginning. They're off. And they're not willing to say, allegedly, we don't know. Perhaps, maybe. I don't know enough about the situation. I need to do more research. They're not willing to say that. They're going to go balls to the wall, out the gate, to get an emotional reaction out of you. And then like a week later, hey, man, so my bad. I know I said this shit when it first came out, but it turns out I was totally wrong. I take a little bit to figure out what's going on before I report on something. Because it's important. So you don't accidentally accuse somebody of fucking sexual assault. Or so you don't come out like some people have done recently and try to justify the overthrowing of Bashar al-Assad. Because that's a trend that I've seen in anti-war media. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure you share this video. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe. Shout out to everybody who helps support the show through super chats. Make sure y'all go to the Patreon link that is back in my description that no one told me was gone. I'm still salty at y'all about that. That thing been gone for months, and I'm out here, hey, everybody go to my Patreon and support me. And y'all like, yeah, man, we gonna do that shit. Oh, it ain't even there. Anyway, I hope he knows that. Nobody tells me nothing. Lord, baby Jesus, that's crazy, y'all. That's so crazy. I'm hurt. Happy holidays indeed. Happy holidays, and I'm playing. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, we are going to have Mimosa Monday on Monday, and it is about to be a lit show. It's going to be so much fun. Make sure y'all tune in. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern, I believe is when we're going to do it. It's going to be a great show. Just like this video, share this video. Make sure you subscribe. Go check us out on Hotspot. Follow us on Hotspot. Go follow us on Telegram so you know whenever we post new and exciting content. But always remember, more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.